Mortality Water and Fatal Foray. Two skills that from the beginning of this game I've wanted to make a build for a long time, but never really had a reason because it didn't ever seem to be that great. While I could have made it and just had an off-meta build, which is totally fine, I still wanted to kind of get pretty decent kill times and not have to spend 10, 15, 20 minutes every single hunt just trying to kill something. And now, with the newest patch and addition of Murakumo, I think it kind of rivals a lot of the meta builds. Mortality Water is a skill that allows you to boost attack when healing water is used, but renders the hunters poisoned. I don't actually know how long that lasts, but 10% bonus to your attack is always nice. Whereas Fatal Foray boosts your attack while suffering from an ailment. You can kind of see how these combo together where you drink your healing water, get poisoned, and proc Fatal Foray. It's pretty nice. The reason Murakumo gave you a good bonus to this, or allows you to actually activate this to the 20% Fatal Foray, is because it gives you Mortality Water, and it gives you a Fatal Foray on an armor, which, to my knowledge, hasn't been a thing yet. So if you, say, slot this into a Kimono build, you not only can have Mortality Water for a 10% boost, Fatal Foray for a 20% boost, but you can make use of Desperation to, well, right now I have it at a 26% boost. And that can go even higher because I've not farmed all of the talismans that I need. So for this build, what you're going to need to do is you're going to take your weapon. I personally think this build works with any weapon. I'm not 100% sure how useful this is on cannon and bow or katana. But the rest, it definitely can work pretty well. So you go into your weapon tree. You find the Fume Beak node over here that allows you to get 10% more Fatal Foray. You grab this, and then you continue on to your weapon tree however you wish. Since I was using the Ember Plume Clawblade for the longest time and still really enjoy this Clawblade and the skills that you get access to it, I just went down and continued my loop like normal. The only thing I dropped out was the One Stroke Fury that I had picked up here for 18% when I break apart. One Stroke Fury also works pretty well with this build, but I didn't really feel the need to have it, and I enjoy Clawmaster a little bit too much. The few key skills in this build are Desperation, Tiger's Den, and Fatal Foray. You want to max out these as much as you can. I honestly don't know if you can get Fatal Foray from a talisman. I guess I could look at that. Hang on. Femto, where you at? Okay. It's not much, but it looks like you can get a 2% Fatal Foray from responding to a hunting job or a hunter request for Ragetail. Apparently you can, so it's possible to get even more Fatal Foray. That's about it. So since I'm already on talismans and talking about them, let's go ahead and talk about the talismans that I have. The talismans that I have are not particularly impressive for this build, and there's a couple that I really need to actually farm out. The only issue with why I haven't already is I still need to do the actual main storyline to hunt all of the deeply volatile kimono. The last two I have are a pain, and I just haven't done it yet. So the few talismans that I do have at the moment are my Desperation Talisman for 4%. It's not great, but it's more desperation, so I'll take it. I have One Stroke Fury for 5%. And then I run 2 9% Destruction Arts because I really want to be breaking parts to keep the kimono staggered, just so that I can keep attacking them while I have my Poison and Fatal Foray active. If I don't have it active, then I want to be able to get out, drink the healing water, and then get back in and continue breaking parts and continue staggering the monster. I have a Claw Expert on here as well because Clawblade likes to have more claw gauge, especially nowadays. Which, funny enough, it actually, They made the changes, reverted it, pretty much, because it still feels broken to shit. So, you know, I don't know what to tell you. Then, obviously, my Clawblade, which has Aerial Combat, Clawmaster, Desperation, Fatal Foray, and Tiger's Den. Tiger's Den is really good because it makes the time it takes to recover from ailments longer, and you want to continuously have your ailment up, so you keep your Fatal Foray active for as long as you can. Then I just have the Murakumo Helmet, the Murakumo Chest. I have Garuda Gauntlets, but there's a couple different things that you can do to swap this out if you don't want to use Garuda Gauntlets. I just really like Desperation, so having an extra 7% is nice. The Murakumo Legs, because that's another 5% to Tiger's Den. And then I use the Murakumo, or I guess the Murakumo Waist, and then I use the Murakumo Legs because it is just a better source of resurrection. As much as I enjoy the gem feat that I've had pretty much this entire game, this has more defense once I actually bring it to the Kimono path, and it gives you Entangler, which, while I have still yet to have it proc 10% Entangler, it's still 10% Entangler, so I will take it. With Clawblade, I found this build to be not so focused on Fatal Foray because it's really hard to find time to actually drink when you run out if you're constantly attached and constantly flying around trying to do damage. But that's the great part about this build, is if you're doing that and you can't actually activate Fatal Foray, you're still just running a Desperation build, which gives you a bunch of damage already. While this build so far hasn't really felt faster, it's also not felt slower. It's kind of just been a fun little change that technically isn't meta, I guess? I don't know. I'm going to say it's not meta because it's focusing on Mortality Water and Fatal Foray. Just because I want to run, you know, as high Desperation as I can to really go into the high risk, high reward playstyle doesn't mean it's meta. So the few talismans, since these are the ones that I have, there are absolutely better talismans. Getting more Desperation, which I'm pretty sure is farmed from Soulstalker now, but I'm not 100% on that. And then getting Deaf Ears, which, again, I believe is farmed from Deeply Volatile Grimclaw, which is Crazed Comb. I'm not 100% on these, just because they recently made the change on the talismans. So technically Femto's thing hasn't been fully updated, but I also know you can get Desperation from Crazed Comb. So if you're lucky enough to get those high Desperation numbers from it, or Soulstalker now drops them, I don't know. But either way, that's what you want to go for. You need the Deaf Ears because you're not getting it from the Garuda Helm anymore. Meaning the start of the hunts is a little bit harder. You don't actually get a lot of free uptime on your damage. And then Desperation, or whatever form of damage bonus you want to use. Could be Crit Master. You could go out and try to farm all the hunter requests to get the talisman from Ragetail to get even more Fatal Foray. I don't think that's that great because it's only 2%, but you know, you do you. A couple of things that you can add to this build to make it more interesting is you can add Bridge Burning. I personally don't think you'll find a lot of uptime with Bridge Burning because you won't be at that very low health percent that often with how much you're having to actually drink to keep up your poison ailment uptime. But it's something you could do. You could also go for more status builds and get Fire Wielder or whatever ailment or status effect wielder you want to go for to counter your target kimono. That could work as well because that's, again, keeps them locked down. You're able to drink and keep up that poison uptime while having a lot of free damage opportunities. Other than that, I think that's about it. If you can get some more Tiger's Den, that works as well. And those are kind of just it for the talismans that I would farm out if I could. If I could farm them out. And I think that's it. I did a little bit of testing with this build. The first time I tried it was against a volatile Golden Tempest. That didn't go so well the first time, but the second time it went fine. It didn't feel all too much harder. I didn't find myself noticing the health decrease from the poison all too much. And even though I wasn't able to keep Fatal Foray up the entire time, because again, with Clawblade it's hard to do, it still is a desperation build, so I still killed it in a decent enough time that I'm happy with it. Then after that, I decided to do something really fun and just see how well I could push this. So I grabbed my Nadachi that does not have Fatal Foray on it, so I was only getting a 10% attack boost, and I decided to hunt Murakumo, who is super weak to the fire status effect. Which, if you don't already know, Nadachi has a really stupid torch combo that you can do to get a full gauge and proc that status effect really fast. And honestly, even without getting that 10% Fatal Foray from the weapon, I was still hitting some really big numbers, and felt probably the safest I felt in all of my hunts of farming him out just to get this build going. The amount of damage it actually does is really crazy to me, and I think it might rival some more of the meta builds, or at least what I've seen as a meta build, pretty quickly if you can get the talismans right. Granted, this is still, you know, a work in progress. I haven't fully fleshed this out, but I think it could work really well. And the best part about this is you can still go human path with it. You just won't get desperation, and you'll have to go more towards crit. Well, maybe you can't go human path. You could go human path if you want to run crit. You can't run the helmet, unfortunately, because you need mortality water, and as far as I know, that's the only way to get it. But getting more destruction art with the Grimstalker gloves, you can run the Grimstalker legs to get more crit, since you won't need the Murakumo legs for the Tiger's Den, since you won't be running Kimono Path anyway. You know, you can make it work. I don't think it's as good as just running a full Kimono Path, but you can make it work. So, yeah, that's it. That's the build. It surprised me a lot, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. The actual poison drain is hardly noticeable. It takes forever to actually go away, which is also really nice. So I would just say eat like normal, get a good, you know, attack boost going. If you're running elements, you know, eat your elemental foods and all that. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I wish you all the best of lucks and trying this build out if you find yourself wanting to run an off-meta-ish build and have some fun with it. The only annoying part about this build is the poison sound effect. So, you know, might want to see if you can turn that off, maybe play without sound anyway. But overall, like I said, I wish you all the best of luck in your hunts, and I'll see you in the next video. I'm happy Wild Hearts is actually working, so take it easy.